Have you ever looked at your family tree? Not just the names and dates, but the actual lives lived and felt a strange sense of déjà vu? It's as if someone sketched a blueprint generations ago, and everyone since has been forced to build the exact same house. Maybe in your family, it's the short fuse that every man seems to inherit. Or perhaps it's a specific kind of sadness that settles over the women once they hit 40. It's that invisible wall where no matter how hard you work, you hit a financial ceiling or an emotional dead end. We often use the term generational curse, but let's look at it for what it really is: a spiritual and psychological relay race. A baton of trauma was handed to your parents, they handed it to you, and right now you are holding it. The question is, are you going to keep running or are you going to drop it? If you feel exhausted, it's because you're carrying weight that isn't yours. I want to talk to the one who feels like an outsider in their own living room, the one who sees the cracks in the foundation while everyone else is busy painting over them. It is lonely to be the healthy one in a family that is comfortable staying sick. You're the one who remembers the secrets everyone else agreed to forget. You're the one trying to de-escalate the tension at Thanksgiving while your heart is pounding in your chest. Whether your family is perfect on the outside but cold on the inside, or loud and chaotic, I want you to know you aren't crazy. Your desire for peace isn't a betrayal of your ancestors. It's the greatest gift you could ever give your descendants. It's okay to mourn the family you should have had while you try to heal the one you do have. Breaking these cycles isn't just about willpower. Science tells us that trauma actually leaves a chemical mark on our DNA, a field called epigenetics. If your grandparents lived in constant survival mode, your nervous system might have been preset to high anxiety before you were even born. Psychologically, we also mirror what we see. If your home was a place where love was only given for achievements, or where silence was the only way to stay safe, your brain wired itself that way. You aren't bad. You are operating on an old operating system. Peace feels impossible because your body is literally addicted to the stress hormones of the past. To find peace, we have to change the very chemistry of how your family functions. You don't need a grand revolution to start. You just need a pattern interrupt. If your family's default setting is to explode in anger, your victory isn't becoming a saint overnight. It's the 5-second pause. In that pause, you stop the momentum. You choose a different response. When you choose patience with your grandchild where your father chose a belt, you have broken a link in the chain. You are reclaiming your sovereignty. You don't have to fix your parents or your siblings to find peace. You only have to fix your response to them. When you stop playing the old game, the game eventually has to stop. I think of a man named David who grew up in a respectable home where grief was never allowed. When someone died, they moved on. When someone failed, they didn't talk about it. David grew up successful but hollow, using alcohol to numb the silence he inherited. One holiday, he finally spoke up. He told his father, "I'm struggling and I miss my grandfather." The room went cold. His family tried to shame him back into silence. But David stayed in the discomfort. He didn't get an apology that day, but he got his soul back. He started a real table in his own home. He proved that even if the older generation won't change, the cycle can still end with you. Sometimes we stay in the chaos because it's familiar. Peace can actually feel terrifying when you've lived in a storm your whole life. We also have to face our idols, the things we worship more than truth. In many families, that idol is reputation. What will the neighbors think becomes a spiritual ceiling that prevents healing. You cannot heal what you refuse to admit. Breaking the curse means being willing to be the difficult one who values the truth more than the family's image. For those who look to the Word, remember that while Exodus speaks of the iniquity of the fathers lasting generations, the promise of God's steadfast love lasts for thousands. The math is in your favor. Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 20 is your liberation mandate. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father. You are not a prisoner of your father's mistakes. Jesus acted as the ultimate circuit breaker on the cross. He absorbed the surge of generational sin so it wouldn't have to hit you. When you graft yourself into Him, the true vine, you start receiving a new kind of sap. You start producing fruit like peace and gentleness instead of the thorns of your past. You aren't doing this in your own strength. You're doing it through His. You didn't start this fire, but you are the one holding the water. This is a holy calling. By breaking this cycle, you are changing the lives of great-grandchildren you will never meet. I want you to do three things. Name the curse. Is it pride, alcohol, anger? Give it a name so it loses its power. Find a partner. Whether it's a counselor or a prayer group, don't walk this road alone. Declare it. In the comments, I want you to type, "I am the one." This is your moment. The chains have been heavy for a long time, but they aren't permanent. Subscribe and join us as we learn how to build a legacy of peace. Your family's story isn't over, and the best chapters are the ones you are about to write. I want us to lean in a little closer now, because we're moving from the why of our struggle into the who of our solution. For many of us, the phrase generational curse sounds like a life sentence. We read verses in the Old Testament and we feel a cold shiver. In Exodus chapter 34, verse 7, it says that God visits the iniquity of the fathers on the children and the children's children to the third and the fourth generation. If you stop there, the weight is unbearable. You feel like a marked man or a marked woman. You think, my grandfather was a gambler, my father was a cheat, so what chance do I have? But I want you to look at the heart of the Father. That verse isn't a threat of divine spite. It is a description of the momentum of sin. Sin has a splash zone. If you throw a heavy stone into a pond, the ripples don't stay at the center, they move outward. But listen to the rest of the story. While the consequences of sin might ripple to the fourth generation, the Bible says God's steadfast love, His chesed, extends to thousands of generations of those who love Him. The math of God is tilted heavily in favor of your freedom. To understand how God views your family's curse, we have to look at the story of a young man named Mephibosheth. His story is found in 2 Samuel. Mephibosheth was the grandson of King Saul and the son of Jonathan. He was born into royalty, born for a throne, but his family lineage was under a dark cloud. King Saul had turned his back on God. He was a man consumed by jealousy, pride, and eventually madness. When Saul and Jonathan died in battle, the news reached the palace. In the chaos and the fear, Mephibosheth's nurse picked him up to flee, but she stumbled and dropped him. At 5 years old, both of his feet were crippled. Think about the symbolism there. Because of a tragedy he didn't cause, because of a fall that wasn't his fault, he was left broken. For years, he lived in a place called Lodabar. In Hebrew, Lodabar literally means a place of no pasture or a place of no word. It was a wasteland. It was a place where people go to be forgotten. That is exactly how a generational curse feels, isn't it? You feel like you're living in Lodabar. You're crippled by anxieties you didn't choose, living in a wasteland of broken relationships, feeling like you're hiding from a king you think wants to punish you because of what your father did. Mephibosheth lived in fear, thinking King David, the new king, would want to wipe out Saul's lineage to secure his own throne. But then the unexpected happens. King David asks a question. Is there anyone still left of the house of Saul to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake? 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1. David didn't ask for someone perfect. He didn't ask for someone who had already fixed their life. He asked for someone to whom he could show kindness. When they brought Mephibosheth before the king, the young man fell on his face in terror. He called himself a dead dog. That is what the curse does to your identity. It makes you believe you are trash, that you are just a dead dog because of your family's history. But David said to him, "Don't be afraid, for I will surely show you kindness. You will always eat at my table." This is the most beautiful part of the story, and I want you to catch this. When Mephibosheth sat at the king's table, the tablecloth covered his feet. From the waist up, he looked like a prince. From the waist down, he was still crippled, but it didn't matter because he was at the table. This is what Jesus Christ does for us as the ultimate cycle breaker. You might still have the crippled feet of your past. You might still struggle with the urge to be angry or the lingering shadow of depression. But when you sit at the King's table, His grace covers your brokenness. You are no longer defined by your fall. You are defined by your Father. The Bible tells us in Galatians chapter 3, verse 13, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us. Let that sink into your spirit. Jesus didn't just help us with the curse, He became it. He took the iniquity of the fathers and the shame of the children, and He nailed it to the wood of the cross. When He cried out, "It is finished," He wasn't just talking about His life, He was talking about the power of the cycle. He snapped the baton in half. The enemy wants you to keep calling yourself by your family's sin. He wants you to say, "I'm just an alcoholic like my dad," or "I'm just a failure like my mother." But God is giving you a new name today. In the Bible, whenever God wanted to break a generational pattern, He changed a person's name. Abram became Abraham. Jacob, the deceiver, became Israel. You are being invited to stop identifying with the curse and start identifying with the covenant. A covenant is a promise that God makes that is stronger than any bloodline. When you step into Christ, you are adopted. Adoption means you get a new legal standing. The debts of your biological father no longer apply to you. You are an heir to a different fortune now. I want to encourage you with one final thought from the scriptures. We often focus on the 3 or 4 generations of struggle, but have you ever meditated on Psalm chapter 103, verse 17? It says, "But from everlasting to everlasting, the Lord's love is with those who fear Him, and His righteousness with their children's children." Do you see the scale? The struggle is temporary, but the blessing is everlasting. You aren't just breaking a cycle for your kids, you are setting a new foundation for your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and generations you will never see. You are becoming the Abraham of your family. You are the one who is leaving the land of your fathers, the land of dysfunction, and walking toward a promised land of peace. Every time you choose to pray instead of scream, every time you choose to be honest instead of hiding, you are planting a seed of righteousness that will grow into a massive tree of life. The shade of that tree will protect your family for 100 years to come. Don't let the enemy tell you it's too late or that you're too broken. Mephibosheth was crippled and hiding in a wasteland, but one word from the king changed his life forever. The king is speaking that same word to you today. He isn't looking for your perfection, he's looking for your presence. He wants you at the table. He wants to cover your brokenness with his grace. So take heart. The chains aren't just rattling, they are falling. You are not a dead dog. You are a child of the Most High God. And the peace you have been searching for isn't a destination, it's a person. And his name is Jesus. As you go about your week, keep this verse in your heart. From Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. This is the new family tradition you are starting today. This is the new legacy. The old is gone, the new has come. Go in that peace, knowing that the one who started a good work in your family tree is faithful to complete it.